the tap dancing.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to shut up because it started.
Go shit.
Coming to you live from deep within an icy... Wait, not icy. It's actually spring now. It's almost June, and it's finally spring.
It's Kofifi.
But it's also... It's windy and muddy, but also sometimes sunny. Radioactive meme land. We are the survivors of the alt-right kek-apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy. I just want to note that I finally got through the word kek-apocalypse.
Yeah, I did. I noticed that you didn't stumble this time.
And then I stumbled. Once more waiting to battle against the froggy hordes with Rantzerker teal deer style number 85. My fucking god, could that be any more awkward? Rational resistance to feminism is futile. I wish I could do the voice, like the Borg voice, but...
I don't have any effects pedals. I don't know.
Oh, okay. We gotta get you some.
We know that it is.
It does exist somewhere. If you're listening to this...
I can maybe give you some sort of weird multiple octave shift thing. So
Okay.
I can give it the We Are the Borg thing there. Like, is this helping? Making
Yes,
it...
that
No?
does.
Yes.
But yeah, now you have to
There we
say
go.
rational resistance to feminism is futile.
Rational resistance to feminism is futile.
I think you have a little bit too much personality in there. Maybe a little
As
more
close as
monotone.
I can get with it, really.
Okay, if you're listening to this after the live show and you want to hear the full stream for whatever horrible self-flagellating reason, go to www.honeybadgerradio.com for our unabridged podcasts, or look up to the right of this video. There is a link, a little clickable link, to go directly to the unabridged version on YouTube. I also want to point out that we're in the last leg of our Australia fundraiser, so please go to www.feedthebadger.com and put a few shekels in the hat so we can all see you people, lovely people in Anaheim, California, on the return trip. Finally, this stream will not be gamified because fuck, my back hurts. That means we go live for an hour and then the rest is after show. If you want to join us for the after show, you can also go to www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. $5 gets you access to all of our after shows and our Discord server, which is a fire hose of shit posting. So let us begin.
All right,
now,
you guys
instantly.
are you guys in the SciTube?
Oh shit! I remembered everything. Oh, put that.
Do you need the link to my SciTube? If you don't,
No, because I did indeed remember to, what is it? Bookmark.
Yeah, I put it in
Site.
here for Teal Deer in case he doesn't have it.
Okay,
So
so
there you
I'm-
go.
I
It's
am
very
in-
good of you, because I don't have it. Now
Oh,
I do.
so I'm not the only one.
Now I am
I'm
there.
not the only one in the back of the bus.
Yeah, no, you're not. Okay, are we all in the Kofefe now?
Yes.
I believe
what?
so, yeah.
Yes. We're in the Kofefe. Let's Kofefe the Kofefe to Kofefe.
That's right.
Kofefe. That's right. All right.
Here we go.
Okay.
Exploring Student Resistance to Feminist Approaches in a Canadian University by Michelle Weber, Department of Sociology, Brock University. There's an address here. I don't think I should dox anyone. Oh, God. Synopsis. This paper explores student resistance to feminist course content in social science courses cross-listed with women's studies as an example of social reproduction at work. Drawing on both interviews and anonymous student course evaluations, the student resistance to feminism is examined from the layered perspectives of faculty, teaching assistants, and students in these courses. The author argues that a regime of rationality still operates in the academy and is made evident when feminist course content is met with continual dismissal or disavowal. This paper...
So rationality still exists. And are you going to try and argue that this is a problem? Rationality still operates in academia, and that's clear that people are resisting feminism because they're being rational? I fail to see the problem.
Logic is the enemy.
What is their proposal? Lobotomies.
Let's find out.
Lobotomies for equality.
We're going to genetically engineer embryo before they're born, so that when you are, you have everything you need.
You don't reason.
Yeah, I think they missed a little bit of a trick with this synopsis here, because they're talking about social reproduction of knowledge. Guys, that's mimetics.
Mm-hmm.
Spreading of ideas. I think I think there's some secret shit going on here under the covers.
I see what they're trying to do now.
The punishment must be more severe.
Explores how faculty utilize feminist perspectives in social science courses that are cross-listed with women's studies in one Canadian university and the phenomenon of student resistance to such content. This research contributes to the understanding of the kind of knowledges that students understand to be legitimate knowledge or real knowledge. The data point to a tension between students' notions of an imagined ideal professor and the actuality of feminist faculty as knowledgeable.
What?
This art
So
Stop academia shaming people. There is no ideal professor.
one would assume the ideal professor isn't a raving lunatic and actually has a firm grasp of their subject matter and the ability to logic and reason within it. I'm guessing if the feminists are failing to embody that ideal, I don't even know why that you would consider that an ideal. Like, is an ideal mechanic someone who can actually fix your car? No, that's just an average mechanic. So feminist faculty isn't even embodying the characteristics of an average professor. I know, I find that funny. Okay.
You're a professor. You literally only have one job.
And you cannot do it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a feminist, that is. Apparently you can't even be held to that standard. Like, what are these feminist professors doing? Like, are they just sort of free bleeding all over in front of the class? And the
Apparently
class is like, Ew.
Apparently they're memorizing the thesaurus because they're all about them words.
Yeah, throw more words at it. That'll make it sound intelligent. Okay.
I got synonyms and I'm not afraid to use them. Okay.
faculty as knowledgeable. This article also aims to add to the understanding of social reproduction, despite some feminist faculty's best attempts to subvert aspects of a masculinist university. The reproductive process of feminist knowledge is not being seen by students as legitimate. Continues.
Seriously? What does it, is this, at what point do women get sort of insulted by this? She's essentially saying that feminism can't reason because girls. Math is hard. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, to me, this sort of harkens back to that, the masculine science. It's like, no, science is too masculine and white because it can't explain the lightning and things. That sort of seems to be where this is going, except according to like women as a whole or something bizarre. It's like, no, the way that universities run is too masculine at the moment because it's structured and rigid and phallic. So we need to tear it all down and learn in a feminist, liquid, slushy kind of way.
Okay, but here's the thing. Reason is actually a great equalizer. It's the only thing that allows a slave to actually be able to talk back to their master, if you think about it, because only through the language of reason and rational and logical discourse can you be made equivalent like that. Because in that realm, we're all saying, well, okay, we're going to put aside our status differences, our emotional power differences, our guns and our knives. We put that all aside, and we are all going to engage on the same level, and everybody's opinion is equal, as long as it's rational and logical, and it can be argued in a rational, logical way. Logic and reason is actually the most democratic form of discourse, and they've essentially said we want to replace the most democratic form of discourse with something that it's just basically believe it because why? Because this woman or feminist professors are authorities. So they want to replace an egalitarian form of discourse with, I don't even want, is it authoritarian? Of course it's authoritarian. It's authoritarian based on emotions, but who decides whose emotions are supreme and are the center of all of the logos, whatever. What is this? This isn't logos. This isn't
Feminism by consensus is what it is.
Yeah, but not the consensus of everybody, because some people are not on the hierarchy.
Only of, the good feminists.
So they create a hierarchy, another
Yes.
hierarchy, and the people on
Yes.
top of the hierarchy get to dictate the terms. So
Yes.
they are creating like an authoritarianism
Yes.
based on what they consider emotionality, and then they're calling it more sympathetic. Bullshit. It's not.
Well, this is the thing. This is why I always object to them sort of doing we need to destroy Western science and destroy all this because it's all straight white male patriarchy and whatnot. But then whenever they actually talk about trying to rebuild anything on top of that, it's just hang on, you want to basically do the whole thing again, but ensure that you're at the top this time.
Yeah. And not only do they want to ensure that they're on top, they want to ensure that they can never be untopped.
Yeah.
By instituting this bullshit, reversing logical, rational discourse and just make it an authoritarian emotionalism based on their fucked up hierarchical rules. Okay.
Well, that's why men's rights activists can't have proper discourse, because they use emotions and feels can't be reals, except when feminists do it. Because of that previous academic paper.
Yeah, we do this. We have, there's a statistic and here's a story that somebody who has experienced this statistic. So we've covered the statistical reality. This is something that happens, and here's a story. And because we say here's a story and it evokes feelings, we can't do that because only feminists get to do that.
Yep.
These feelings. Okay.
Okay. Real quick before we go on, Brakir gave us $20 in the super chat and says, "Good misogyny is hard to find these days, even though we all hate women and live in a patriarchy that hates women and constantly rapes them." Smiley face. So,
I know what you mean.
thank you very much, Brakir in Châtelet.
We're one of the few purveyors of exceptionally finely crafted patriarchy. Mm-hmm. I'm just, like us at Honey Badger Radio.
We're
and also
terrible.
Tilder.
We're terrible at patriarchy, though, because
Are
masculinity is
we?
so fragile. Apparently.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. We're both simultaneously the pinnacle of patriarchal purveyance of I don't know what norms, and also incredibly fragile and incapable of doing anything.
Yeah.
Because we all live in our mother's basement.
Kind of like a badly written Disney villain. All right,
Yep.
let's continue.
Gordon, 1984, reflects on Paul Willis' 1977 contribution in his classic ethnography, Learning to Labor. Gordon argues that Willis demonstrates how cultural choices made with a particular direction in mind may induce unintended effects in an altogether different direction. The faculty members in this research are oddly complicit in this reproduction process. First, I outline the larger project that this work stems from and lay out the institutional context of the research site. Next, I outline the approach that the various faculty and teaching assistants take towards justifying the array of feminist course content used in their courses to students.
They shouldn't have to justify their content. Is one of the things that is it a she or is it a he? I don't
Doesn't
remember.
matter.
Doesn't matter.
Don't
He,
try and put them in a box, Alison.
Don't
Sorry,
assume their gender,
Michelle.
Allison. Don't assume.
Michelle. She's trying to argue that feminist professors shouldn't, the job is not to educate you. My job is not to educate you. Justify why you need to learn this.
Again, you're
I might be
assuming.
your professor, but I'm not going to enact the labor of teaching you.
Yeah, exactly. You should be already come pre-taught.
Again, stop assuming their pronouns.
Programmed from
Just-
the womb.
Just because the name is Michelle.
Yeah, but okay, fine. Sorry, Michelle, I just assumed.
Yeah. They may not like that. Okay, shall we?
Yes.
Courses to students. Last, I move on to explore student resistance to feminist approaches from the layered perspectives of faculty, teaching assistants, and students in these courses. Included in the discussion of student resistance is an analysis of anonymous student course evaluations that the faculty participants shared with me for this project. It is important to state that I do not assert that the resistance that these faculty report is necessarily an artifact of cross-listed courses. I chose this site as it is one where I as a junior faculty member, was experiencing such a resistance.
Okay, all right. Let me try to articulate what the fuck she's saying. Cross-listed courses is when they make the engineers take fucking women's studies. Needless to say, the engineers are not pleased with this. And they tend to get a little bit pissy in the women's studies courses. And I think she's also saying that when she was an undergraduate, she got some pushback from presumably the group of people who will just, accept her word vomit passively, which would be social studies students. So just wanted to clear that up in case anybody else is falling asleep from this.
Say that again?
What?
Forget it.
Really?
It's not that important.
Okay, yeah, okay, bye. Go.
This is not to say that cross-listed courses are the only site of feminist teaching, nor are they the only location of resistance to feminist content. What is particular about this setting, though, is the explicit designation of the courses as feminist courses within the home discipline's regular course bank. These courses represent an attempt to incorporate non-traditional approaches to knowledge into the various social science disciplines. These courses challenge the taken-for-granted regime of rationality of the academy.
Wait, so...
Holy fuck.
Wait, what? So they're talking about...
They actually want science to explain how the voodoo doctor conjures lightning.
Okay.
Western colonialized science is based on white supremacy and patriarchy. That won't do. That we need to bring different, diverse voices into science, I guess.
Yeah, I am intrigued to know what exactly they mean by these non-traditional approaches.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of approaches in academia, even in just like social sciences. There's a lot of different things. I mean, even just the differences between different ways of surveying people, different ways of observing people, all these sorts of different ways of gathering information. There's a lot of stuff there. So I'll actually be intrigued to know what this person means by the non-traditional approach. My lived experience, yo. But that is actually a thing, a piece of evidence which is used in social science.
Absolutely.
It's in the difference between qualitative and quantitative data, so even that is covered.
Mm-hmm.
So, it has its place. It's not the be-all, end-all, but it does have its place in the research process.
I think the ways of knowing that she wants... I'm going to just presume her gender. The ways of knowing that she wants is that Michelle is able to pontificate authoritatively on everything and not be questioned. It's the ways of knowing that she wants is the ways of knowing of the aristocracy. I think that clears it up pretty well. She just doesn't want to be wrong, ever. Even when she is. Okay.
Well, let's see.
Through the operation of this regime of rationality, masculine consciousness in the scholarly world is assured. Smith in 1992.
What is this assumption that reason and logic is just a male thing? I would have thought it was more like a human thing.
Because patriarchy, and you've been brainwashed to think that because men have had all of the power throughout all of history, don't you know?
I think it's because reason and logic does not reel with feminism. Like, these things don't coexist. This is why you can't be a skeptic feminist. Because those things don't go together. They don't. And I think that what's happening is that feminism's not working. Social sciences are heavily biased. I'm not saying they're completely useless, but in their current state, it's fucking toxic. And the only way to validate it is to say, okay, so the problem isn't our ideological religion that we call social science and feminism and essentially academic activism. It's logic. Logic is flawed. We have to go after that because it doesn't support our belief system. It's basically what it is. It's like it's basically religion, and religion doesn't work well with or certain kinds of religion. I'll put it that way. Don't work really well with logic. So logic must be the problem.
That was an excellent Max interpretation or accent, or is it an accent?
Max Starrett.
Yeah.
I
thought that's what you were going for.
I wasn't trying to do a Max, but I don't know that I could do that. But yeah, well, I'll say thanks That was so. Maybe I just talked to him too much.
Yeah,
But-
maybe he's rubbing off on you. Okay, so another person gave us a
Heyo.
super chat. Oh, okay. Oh, fucking dog. Middermemories.
Mithrin. No, he tells you how to pronounce it right there.
Mithrin. Okay. Academic feminism. The issues are made up and have no proof, but the consequences are horrifyingly real. Yep. What can you say to that except let's continue to delve into this moist, deep hole.
We have your
Academic
message, and we appreciate it, Mithran dear.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to read all of those out, by the way. Ahem. This orientation to men as embodying rationality is made visible when challenged by women. Smith argues that feminism may be tolerated when it is located far away from the real scholarly world, i.e. in women's studies, but it is met with anger when feminism crashes through the gate. Far from threatening the foundations of the university, critiques of racism and sexism are better understood as committed to removing deformations that have been historically sedimented in the everyday working life and the intellectual practices of universities in North America. Those who make the critique can be seen as measuring university against an implicit ideal
Okay,
of fully
alright.
reciprocal and
Okay, the only thing that I can think of here, because reason and logic usually can deconstruct racist bullshit pretty quick, and has in the past, is that she is saying because a significant portion of science and reasonings and the logicings have been done by white men, that automatically makes them bad or tainted because
Yeah.
they've touched them with their vile white male phallic thoughts.
Yeah,
I
white
can't
men
think of
are inherently racist and sexist, and you know that? They just are. So if they get their hands on logic, they're only going to use it for ill will.
Or that it's just whatever they've created out of logic and reason is innately flawed rather than just being an element of the human condition. Well, not even an element. Well, I don't know. Like, where do we situate logic and reason? My personal opinion is that I've just dumped water all over my fucking desk. Excuse me.
Oh my god. Allison. Okay. I guess we could...
That's what happens when you try and learn in a feminist fashion.
You get the desk wet.
Yep.
There's a
That's all of her feminist data that's there, because you can't keep it in ring binders on sheets of paper. It's too rigid, it's too formal.
That's right.
Too phallic and masculine. Everything has to be stored in liquids.
like water.
Yes.
All right, so I guess
Like that glorious Metalocalypse episode. We recorded the latest song on water.
I guess we'll just keep going while Allison cleans up. This is making me moist, and apparently it did for Allison as well.
symmetrical dialogue, as foundational to universities' claims to universality and commitment to rational discourse. Similarly, as Adrienne Rich, 1979, points out in her classic piece, Toward a Woman-Centered University, women are made to feel that the real curriculum is the male-centered one.
Okay, I will let's.
Ow.
Women are made to feel that the curriculum is a male-centered one. Feminism is doing that to women. It has to be. It's the only thing that. So feminism is essentially making women uncomfortable in university by its narrative. That's all it can be. I don't know what else there is to that.
Yeah,
So-
there is no reason for anyone to feel uncomfortable going to a university, like, ever.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling that there's going to be a reason for it, and it's probably the fact that you're being told all of this sort of shit, that what you're learning is, a masculinized environment, and it's all manly, and the whole world is against you, really.
Mike in the chat says, "What the fuck does made to feel mean?" This is just it. That's what we're saying. Like, first you have somebody who may not have developed their opinion on this particular topic yet, and then feminists come in and they basically tell them, this is how you should feel, and here are the reasons why we think you should feel this way. And then in some cases, they will be made to feel threatened, afraid, insecure, insufficient, whatever the negative thing is. And then feminism gets to point at it and say, look at what men's logic and presence in university is doing to women. You terrible, terrible men, look what you did. And we knew that you were up to this the whole time. I think that's basically what it is. Being made to feel something is a form of rape. That Reeve guy gave us some sex, 50 sex to be specific, and he says feminist learning equals the injection of milky white fluids and then screaming rape. Okay, Allison, do you have your shit figured out? Or what? What happened? Hello? No? All right.
Did you just tell me? Say something.
I wanted to know if you had your shit figured out because you spilled water and then you disappeared for a bit.
Yeah, well, that's the two are related.
But here you are talking now, so I'm
Yeah, I'm still wiping shit up. So.
Okay.
Well, we did fear the worst because, water and electricity and all that, and then silence.
Yeah.
No, actually, I am fairly sensible. My computer is up above my desk, because I know that I have a tendency to drop things. Like glasses of water all over the place. Anyway.
All right.
I'm good. I'm okay now, unless I dump another glass of water all over my shit, in which case I will not be okay. But
Yes,
well,
Chad.
I'll probably be okay. I'll just be pissed.
Dumping a glass of water in Allison's world is code. See if you can figure out what it means.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Probably Kofefe is involved. Let's move on.
That women's studies are, like third world studies, a fad. That feminist teachers are unscholarly, unprofessional, or dykes. The university is above all a hierarchy, Rich suggests. That there exist two areas of women's needs that need to be fulfilled in order to change the nature of universities. The first concerns educational content and pedagogy. And the second concerns institutional barriers to women's full or partial participation in higher education.
Okay, hold on. So the problem is this person making the argument that the fact that university is a hierarchy is a problem in and of itself? I think
that was the quote. That was the women aren't catered to because women's studies are made to feel like they're a fad and they're not something important, which, well, they're not. So that opinion is actually completely correct. And I don't really understand why they put the university as a hierarchy, because it's like they've got that thing. It's like, oh, people don't take women's studies seriously. They think the teachers aren't anything serious. And then university as a hierarchy. It's like, okay, the hierarchy bit isn't actually necessarily related to the previous bit.
University is a hierarchy. And gender studies is...
It kind of must be as well.
Yeah, it has to be. And gender studies is a joke. I mean...
Can I point something out?
Yes.
Now that I'm relatively water-free.
Water.
She started this whole thing by saying that professors or feminist academic professors don't resemble the student's ideal professor. Now, in the university hierarchy, of course, the student is on the bottom. So she starts out at a critique of students having an opinion about what their ideal professor is. And then she complains about the university being a hierarchy. If she got her way, students wouldn't be allowed to say that feminist professors do not embody what they consider to be a standard of professorship. So she would essentially make it even more hierarchical. And I'm pretty sure that what she wants is she wants feminist professors to be on the top of that hierarchy and not having any critique by their students, is not embodying the standard that they expect from a professor. So it's really interesting how she manages to be elitist. She manages to disparage the lowest rank on the hierarchical ladder and their opinion, and say that it's illegitimate, and say that she's questioning the hierarchy. I don't think you're questioning the hierarchy. I think you want the hierarchy. And I think you want to silence students' opinions of feminist professors, and you just want the feminist professors on the top of that hierarchy. Okay, I'm just...
Sounds like any other standard day at anything feminists do ever.
Couple things. RKT in the chat gave us $10 A, which I guess is Australian, maybe? And he says they use postmodernism to invalidate traditional manners of figuring out whether it's worth a damn. Logic, reason, rationality. If you question, they hold your qualification to ransom. Because in the world of postmodernism, all ideas are equal and unique at the same time, and none of it means anything. Reality doesn't real.
Yeah, but how come... The thing is that you can say that, but they don't say... They still have a hierarchy. Because obviously the gay, lesbian, or the lesbian, black, disabled woman, trans woman, has many more reels. Like, she has many more reels than the straight cis
because
white
she has more
man.
feels.
So obviously there's a currency here in the hierarchy as well.
Yep.
So they can't completely say they're postmodernism, because if they were, then they would say, well, the white man has an equal number of reels to his feels as the black woman. And we just went through a whole paper in which they explained how reels is not feels, or feels is not reels when it comes to white men.
Well, that's the funny thing about
men.
that's the funny thing that I've noticed about postmodernism, or the postmodernists now that use the progressive stack, is they supposedly it comes from the idea that everyone's experience is valid and unique, and their there is no truth and everything is open to interpretation, except if you're a white cis male, then no. So they still have a hierarchy, even though they claim that there isn't one. So yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. And Monica Lewinsky says, stop posting random words. I think she's talking about Kofefe. Monica, Kofefe is not a random word. It's real. It's Kekistani. It is of the old tongue. Okay, so do you guys want to move on?
Yes.
I do have one further thing.
Okay.
They say that there's like two problems here, and I think these are just sort of worth putting up because it's kind of bullet pointed what they're going to be talking about. So the first is the educational content and the pedagogy. So that's just what people are being taught and the method by which they're being taught. So apparently that's a problem for women. I mean, let's ignore those, millions of women who have graduated from university doing things like STEM and have had absolutely no problems taking on board any of that information and then having successful careers at the end of it. We'll ignore them because they're awkward. And the institutional barriers that women apparently face that stops them from fully or even partially participating in higher education, like all of those grants that they get, all of those bursaries and whatnot, and all of those affirmative action programs, even though women are the majority of people graduating from universities. Those are the two problems that this author wants to deal with. So it really does seem to be, courses are wrong and the way you're doing it is wrong. Everything must be done through the lens of feminism. I'm guessing that's where they're going with it.
Also, students have no right to consider that professors should be held to an ideal.
Yes, you have no right to have any sort of standard that your professor should possibly be held to. They should be allowed to be as incompetent as they choose.
And you cannot question what the fuck they say to you.
Nope.
But she's against hierarchy.
Yeah. Shall we?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
my dude.
This article explores the first category, course content and pedagogy.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right. I have it on I have it on some authority that I can skip through the section labeled method.
Yes, because there
Apparently
is
it's
none.
quite boring. Imagine that.
I am actually very
So I'm gonna have to
intrigued,
skip.
though.
Imagine my
They
shock.
gathered it.
The method that they used?
I am intrigued. Have you read this through and can give us like a paragraph quickly? I'm guessing it was done via interviews. Oh yeah,
Okay,
there we
just-
go. Semi-structured interviews with 22 participants, 21 women and 1 man, 8 faculty, 5 teaching assistants, and 9 students.
More
And they
sample
just
size.
interviewed them for their opinions.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is going to be very representative of everyone's experience throughout everything.
These are like
Yeah.
the 22, I guess.
Yeah, because we totally expect all of these people's point of view to be completely representative, because we expect them to be, normal within the student and teaching body. Yeah, there's no way in hell you're basically just going to be interviewing, I don't know, all of the feminist faculty, all of the women's studies students and things like that. So you're going to get a very particular thing. This is the thing. It's like, even if it's a small sample size, that doesn't actually necessarily matter if you expect that small sample to still be typical of a
Okay,
population, but this isn't going to be.
No,
This is
I'll
not
let me
even,
read the-
that's not even one classroom's worth of people.
No, it's like maybe a tenth. Okay, so this is a good paragraph. I used a snowball method of recruiting students. I need to do this in a voice. I used a snowball method of recruiting participants, beginning with the student with whom I was acquainted. Oh, what does acquainted mean? Oh. And while this provided a reliable method of recruitment, I failed to secure the participation of non-feminist friendly students. The feminist friendly student with whom I started the snowball process provided the name of another feminist friendly student, and the process continued from there. The snowball method did not yield any students who were not feminist friends. Thus, this article lacks an important standpoint. I got help writing this.
I talked to all of my friends, all of those people who already pretty much agree with me on most things, because that's why we're friends, and now we're going to...
How the
hey
fuck
guys, do you remember the CMNI and how scientific that was? Let's do it again!
How is this shit published? How does this not just get there? Just like they go to the peer review and the head professor just takes it and wipes his ass with it and then gives it back. Like, how does this happen? Anyway, thus this article lacks an important standpoint. I'm relying on discussing student resistance from the perspectives of faculty members and teaching assistants who experience resistance in their classes, and students who do not resist feminist approaches, yet witness resistance in their own classes.
So you're going to judge what you think and assume other people are doing. Cool.
Yes.
I can't see this being in any way biased or unreliable whatsoever.
Oh, God. So she's going to talk about feminist resistance, not even the experience of feminist resistance, without ever consulting people who resist feminism.
Yep.
And this doesn't create a hierarchy.
No.
No, sir.
Comment from the chat. Zeranx writes, one member of a group represents the whole group. More members represent more of the entire group. More the whole... Well, so there you go. Thank you, Zeranx, for the $5. So I guess the sample size doesn't matter much when you're drawing from the hive. So I guess 21 people is fine, because they're all going to give the same answers anyway.
Yeah, I mean, 21 people could be a decent sample if it was, say, just the one course that you were trying to get information from one class's idea about one person, and you randomly sampled them to, like, review their teacher out of a class of 50, because you'd expect them to be somewhat representative.
Well, it
But
can be a good...
this is absurd. The reach that they're trying to get from such a small group when they've used this method as opposed to random sampling is absurd.
Well, a small sample can be good if you do a good job of getting a random sample, randomizing your sample.
Yeah.
This isn't even, this goes beyond not doing a good job of randomizing your sample. We're going to analyze the opinions of this group of people by talking to a group of people that is, by definition, completely opposed to this other group. We're going to get the opinions of Republicans by talking to Democrats. This is what she's done.
Yep.
It's not even a randomization issue. It's a what the fuck are you fucking thinking? Okay.
Pretty much. So...
I believe this scholarship is known as anality.
Jew Gold gave us $5. That makes a lot of sense. And he writes, we need to organize a gaggle of cat ladies to scare feminists straight, just like we take boys to meet prisoners when they talk too loudly. So thank you, Jew Gold Gold. That's his actual name, and he gave us $5. So
Was it Jew Gold, though?
no, because it was only $5. But maybe he'll give us a little bit more. Try not to perpetuate the stereotype too much, Jew Gold Gold. Give us a little bit more, if you can. So, shall we move on?
He is no true Jew because he actually gave you $5, so he did it wrong immediately.
Yeah,
let's
somehow
move on.
he'd have to figure out how to make us give him $500 so that we could say what he wanted us to say. Have the privilege of it. Okay, all right. No, that's horrible.
All right, moving on.
Skip to the section. There's no numbers into any of these sections. This is terribly structured. Feminist content is the subtitle for the section I'm just skipping to today. Bugger off, all of you. Feminist content. All of the faculty interviewed for this project utilize feminist materials in their social science courses that are cross-listed with women's studies. The faculty also introduce some degree of feminist content in their non-cross-listed courses. While there is a program requirement at this university, not actively monitored, that cross-listed women's studies courses need to have 50% feminist content, meaning half of the course material should be authored by women, ignoring the problematic assumption that women authors necessarily equals some sort of feminist approach.
No, shit,
And have
that's
it in-
problematic. Oh, fuck. If I was ever part of an academic program and I was quoted as part of their fucking 50% feminist content,
But I find this very interesting. It's like here they've acknowledged that feminist is not, that woman is not a synonym for feminist. Where is that acknowledgement all the rest of the time when you say, I disagree with this feminist position, but you just hate women? That acknowledgement seems to only come up in certain circumstances and be completely ignored the rest of the time.
Indeed.
One thing which I do find a little bit weird about this is this cross-listed women's studies stuff. It's like, oh, it has to have all of this, and it's... Hang on, let me just quickly reread that. Oh, there's no program requirement. Yes, okay, so there is a program requirement that cross-listed women's studies stuff, so that people who are forced into, like, a women's studies thing then have to read... Basically, it's mandatory feminist content, but it might not actually be properly feminist, because... I can't get my head around this absolute clusterfuck here. It's like, okay, 50% feminist content by making sure that half of the authors are women. By that logic, you could end up with 100% feminist content because half of the stuff could be written by feminist men.
yeah, but maybe they don't count. I don't know. I think we need to finish this paragraph, but I don't think we'll be any more enlightened when we do.
Yeah, please, maybe I'm just jumping ahead of stuff here, so yeah, let's go on.
All right, let's.
Instructor with a background in a range of feminist theory. These women faculty believe that such inclusion would be their choice regardless. As Jordan laughingly states in her interview, there's no material that isn't feminist material.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
You know what? I actually wish that feminists would acknowledge this. In the West, there is no one, a vanishingly small amount of people who don't believe in equality or equity between the genders. And I don't think there's anybody in the world, any culture in the world, except some really psychotic sects who don't actually believe that women should be raped constantly or beaten or killed. Because it's really hard to maintain those kind of attitudes to the people who keep your fucking sect alive in the first place. I'm sure there was a sect of radical misogynists, but guess what? They died. Because they didn't breed. Anyway.
Yep.
So I would say that if feminists could acknowledge that the world hates women are exaggerated in the extreme, and their claims that anyone in the West really opposes equality are exaggerated in the extreme, and just recognize that if you exclusively keep feminism to a desire for equality, everybody in the West is feminist. Exclusively keep it to that. You get rid of all the fucked up baggage, like nothing else. I wish they would acknowledge that. And then the question becomes, well, why would you identify as a feminist? Why do you need to do that? There was I think a singer a while back who said, well, that's just, like, why do you have to identify as a feminist to be for equality? I mean, if you're against equality, doesn't that just make you a sexist? Why do you have to be a feminist? Why do you have to label yourself a feminist? Anyway. Does that...
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm
No,
clear.
I think a lot of people label themselves feminists to be honest because it's like a warm blanket. It just feels
I don't
good.
understand that. Why is it such a fucking warm blanket for people? Like, why does the word feminism? I feel like I'm nestling back into a womb. It's feminism.
Because of that word that we can't name, which is why we can't talk about that word.
What, gynocentrism?
Yeah, that's why.
Oh.
Because I'm a male feminist, don't you know? That means I care about the women.
Like no other man cares. Like not every single man on the fucking planet. I don't care. There are no true extreme women haters. Because any group of men that goes out and says, you know what, I'm just going to rape and kill women, doesn't perpetuate itself to the next generation. It is immediately selected out of the gene pool. This is true about every fucking human being on this planet. You cannot exist as a society, as a cult, as a sect, with the principle that you refuse or you are going to actively go out and hate and harm women. You know why? Because women are instrumental to the perpetuation of every community on this planet. Because they teach the kids who they belong to. Where are these radical cults of misogynists going to get their children from? Where? Are they going to rape the women and then just wait till they pop out a baby and then kill her? Does that exist anywhere in the world? Maybe Papua New Guinea. I don't even think they do that. Anyway, sorry, rant. Over.
No, they kind of like their women from around there. I have a family of friends who are from there. They actually treat the women's pretty damn well out there.
Well, they have to. They want to maintain their society. So, okay, let's continue. More bluff.
Someone super chatted. By the way, your super chat thing isn't popping up in your...
Oh wait, no, it should be. Hold on. It might.
Yeah.
There's a delay from when it goes.
No,
up.
its position is incorrect.
Really?
Yes.
Hold on. Let me see. Oh, you're right.
Okay,
it is. You're right.
Mithrins. Why the fuck? If your name is
I fixed
Mithrins,
it.
why would you spell it that way?
It's the language of his people.
Oh,
In Middle Earth, that's how they write it.
Anglicize your fucking name. Anglicize it. All right. He gives us $5. There is no material that isn't feminist material except science, tech, engineering, and math, and anything based on reason. But everything is feminist at the same time.
Science is under attack. I don't know if you know. The only thing that's actually feminist free right now is math. And I think it's only because I haven't figured out a way to make it work to use social science on numbers. So, Mithrin says it's Welsh. I say it's Middle Earth. Okay.
Anglicize it.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's continue because we're only about 7 minutes in. So.
Yeah.
One can argue that by virtue of their location as women workers in the university, the women faculty challenge the current and certainly historical masculine regime of the university. Also, by these faculty members being feminists, they further challenge or resist the ruling regime. So we might think of these women's practices as ones of resistance, rather than focus on the students as the important resistors. As Smith notes,
What
feminist
the
theory in
fuck?
sociology.
She's essentially saying that the people who resist feminist theory are part of the hegemonic, despite her getting a fucking paycheck to push it on them.
Yeah.
And them being the students. In the university system, the students are on the bottom, lady. The bottom is resisting your bullshit. And you have the audacity to reverse it somehow.
Yeah, that's basically an extension of that one like internet law that one feminist said, that any comment any comment on an article about feminism validates the need for more feminism or something like that. Do you know that law? I think it's Lewis's law is what it's called, I believe.
Yes, it is.
And actually, the thing that so this is basically an extension of that. And actually, it's interesting that you should bring this up. There is a very popular YouTube channel called Crash Course, and they do history and various other things. And they did one about philosophy, I believe, and they talked about. Oh no, it wasn't Crash Course. I'm sorry. It was PBS, and the guy was talking about the laws of the internet. So completely different, but whatever. And he actually brought up Lewis's law as something that was fucking valid in some way. So yeah, this is something. What I'm saying is that learning channels, like educational YouTube channels and broadcasting networks, are applying a stupid internet law that isn't actually applicable, and it's also in academia itself, apparently.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Lewis's law is that the comments, which is basically the most egalitarian way of getting your voice heard, there is a very low bar of entry to be in a comment section. The comments justify feminism.
No matter what the comments are.
No matter, of course.
You could just say,
but also, here's the
Kofefe.
thing. Brian, do the responses by academia, by government, and by billion-dollar media outlets directed at men's rights activism, does that justify men's rights activism?
Oh.
Does the commentary of the status quo, of all the government, the big business corporations, everything, on men's rights activism, does that justify men's rights activism? I'm guessing that would be no.
No. One of the ways you could make the case that Lewis's law is applicable is that no matter if you actually can make a fucking comment in a comment section under an article or video about feminism, it will not change the minds of feminists. And they will convince themselves that it only means that feminism is that much more necessary, whether your comment is negative, positive, or indifferent. So in a way, it's true because it shows how dogmatic feminists can be. And I don't know that other people like MRAs or whatever would be that dogmatic if you pointed out their flaws, but I can only speak for myself, so. Moving on.
All right.
It is still feminist theory, and not just plain sociological theory. In the context of this project, the sentence can be read, and not just plain social theory, as this is not a problem specific to sociology. Faculty whose teaching and practices are informed by feminisms are positioned as hopelessly biased by students, as feminism is perceived as being based on personal viewpoints and therefore does not constitute legitimate knowledge. Atwood. 1994. As Morley argues, the relationship between gender, language, knowledge, and power further complicates...
Here's the problem. Okay, this is what's happening. These feminist professors are saying, well, all of this stuff is based on my lived experience or the lived experience of these other people. And then students who are resistant to feminism say, well, if it's based on the lived experience of other people, why is my lived experience not included in that? And my lived experience contradicts what's going on here. And then the feminist professors say, misogynies. In order to accept their lived experience as authoritative, the students have to unaccept their own lived experience as authoritative. And that's they have to recognize this hierarchy of personal being, this unending hierarchy of personal being with the feminist professors and all of their various victim objects on the top over top the students. Like, they don't see this? They don't see what they're demanding of people and why people might resist that? By the way, your lived experience is invalid.
Yeah.
Your emotions, your being, your memories, they're all bullshit. People might get a little offended. They're bullshit because you are lower than me on the progressive stack. And I'm not a hierarchicalist at all. I just want to be able to render people's very existence invalid based on a hierarchy.
And the only thing they want to get out of these lived experiences, these anecdotes essentially, is negative experiences, the tales of oppression. If there was a woman who had a lived experience where everything was great and she had a lot of good fortune and she worked really hard and so on, that would not be a valid lived experience. It only operates from who oppressed you, who is to blame for your suffering and your laziness. So, Fretchinator2 gave us $5 and writes, if you add art to STEM, that means you would need to create standards. What do you think? Well, I think it would change STEM to STEAM, and I'm okay with that.
It checks out. Okay, we're almost in the last leg of it.
Okay, I guess we'll keep going.
Yeah, keep going for about 5 more minutes. I guess we could... Do you want to try for some monetization of this stream? A little bit, we'll go a bit longer. Okay, now, let's go. Let's go for it. Let's
biased
more minutes.
By students, as feminism is perceived as being based on personal viewpoints and therefore does not constitute legitimate knowledge. Atwood. 1994. As Morley argues, the relationship between gender, language, knowledge, and power further complicates the web of power relations in which faculty informed by feminisms are enmeshed. In power-laden, daily social interactions, it is not just a question of what is said, but of who is entitled to speak. Legitimate knowledge is taken up by students as being objective and scientific and not based on personal opinion. Acker also points out the dual nature of resistance. She argues that given one's theoretical preference, resistance can either be read as the last stand of the brave underdog or the last gasp of the doomed dinosaur. While the women faculty involved in this project do not need the 50%...
Okay, then we need a metric to decide whether or not it's doomed gasp of the dinosaur or the underdog. How about the metric, which person is getting an income to espouse their views? Which person gets a platform on national TV to espouse their views? Right?
What's the question? Because I can answer it in the feminist mindset.
Okay, well, here's the thing. She's saying that the student resistance to feminism could be the last gasp of a dying dinosaur, or it could be the underdog. And I'm saying that if we need a metric to determine which is which, I'm suggesting that the metric is: do you draw a paycheck from being able to espouse your views? In other words, she does, because she's a feminist. There's an actual feminist women's studies department where she draws a paycheck from in order to talk about the shit that she does. Whereas the people who are opposing her do not draw a paycheck from opposing her. And in fact, when they get out of university, could put their jobs in jeopardy from opposing her, her beliefs there in the corporate world. So I would suggest by that metric of whether or not which way the money flows, that she is not actually dealing with the last dying gasp of a dinosaur, but genuinely dealing with an underdog that isn't getting paid and has a serious disadvantage to holding the opinions that they do. And those opinions are not that men and women shouldn't have equity or equality. Those opinions are all of the feminist claptrap that is in addition to a belief. In fact, I don't even think feminists believe in equality, because you actually have to measure both sides to advocate for equality, and they firmly do not measure one, so they can't possibly be advocating for equality. So whatever is in the feminist corpus, which has absolutely butt-fuck nothing to do with equality. So they're saying, no, we don't want that. And those people who are saying, no, we don't want that, we are non-feminist, anti-feminist, feminist resistant, they do not get paid to espouse feminist resistant viewpoints. At least not in academia. I guess we get paid on YouTube to do it. But that is because it's a completely alternative form of media, which would suggest that the people who are actually able to speak and make a living on it are not part of the mainstream, because again, it is an alternative. So once again, that metric suggests that the people arrayed against Michelle are the underdogs, whereas Michelle is on high, pissing down because she's on a fucking hierarchy, which she's constructed for herself. And she doesn't even want to listen to any criticism of people below her. It's fucking, it's that whole quote, you said Lewis's quote, the comment section of any feminist video proves the need for so essentially the fact that peasants actually have an opinion of the king or the queen proves the existence, the need for the Inquisition to tear out their tongues.
Yeah. Essentially, it's more accurately, the fact that the peasants and the serfs have criticisms or opinions about the church further validates the need for more church. They just haven't figured it out yet that the church is the way. It's the only answer, and they just don't know. That's why. So
we just got 200 sex from Jimmy Svensson.
I do like the sex.
I guess we can. Should we go? I don't want to go much longer, but
okay.
Let's
go 5 more minutes.
Well, we can go until the sex runs out.
I want to give a high five to Bunny Blackwell for making a Double Dragon reference. Yes, the city was Shadow. I think it wasn't Châtelet, but it was close. There's something to that. And the Battletoads did team up with them. Just saying. Okay, moving on.
While the women faculty involved in this project do not need the 50% feminist content rule, it exists to safeguard the Women's Studies program from supporting non-feminist courses and to ensure that the program students and majors are indeed taking courses informed by feminists. Nevertheless, there sometimes exists a communication breakdown between the chairs of particular programs and the part-time or non-permanent faculty who are hired to teach courses that are cross-listed with women's studies. The result is that some of the part-time or non-permanent instructors are not trained in feminist theory, but may be sympathetic to feminist content, while other instructors who are hired have no background and no alliance with feminism.
Holy shit, dude. This is terrifying. This is terrifying. Like, people...
One of us. One of us. One of us.
Oh my god. This is why we need more Jordan Petersons, I guess. Feminism, these women's studies courses and social science courses are basically against the idea of any professor, no matter what they're teaching, they have to be feminists and they have to include it in their work. Otherwise, they're just using pure logic, and we can't do that. We can't have that. And no matter what their courses are, it's not acceptable. Oh my god.
This rot goes to the core. It just needs to be burnt down.
Academia
what we need
is
to do
fucked.
is we need to return to having like universities and open fields. We can have Jordan Peterson in a robe with a bunch of rocks.
It's gonna have to be. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. This just needs to be burnt down, all of it.
Oh,
Sorry,
man.
engineers and mathematicians and you guys are just gonna have to take it for the team.
Oh shit.
Burn it all down.
Mar Films wrote, just want to inform you, Beastkin, that feminists have been targeting math. I know that they've been trying to. Aiden Paladin, who was a guest on our show a couple weeks ago, you can go check it out in Fireside Chat, went over a PhD mathematician saying that white men must go. Well, I mean, what if that's what Common Core was? An attempt at replacing normal math with fucking crazy math. I don't know. They have to go. They just can't. They just gotta go. Because colonial white supremacy, masculine patriarchy, heteronormative math. I don't know.
And once again,
I really want them to try and pull the maths is an invention of the white patriarchy and shit, because it'll be like, wait a minute, isn't the counting system that we use Arabian?
Yeah.
Yep, they invented a very
invented by white people.
Zero.
Yeah, I think that didn't the Greeks add the zero?
No, it was the zeros from the Middle East.
Oh, okay. So they fixed it, is what you're saying.
Well, it's actually a pretty critical concept. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was when it was during the Golden Age that they say it was in the Middle East, prior to whatever the fuck happened to them. I don't know, running out of grain. Who knows? Anyway, that was a thing, and they did indeed invent the zero. And in fact, mathematics really isn't white. It's pretty multicultural.
It's not only multicultural, it's basically the way that we're trying to communicate with aliens. It's universal, right?
Well, I don't know if it's universal necessarily, but it is definitely universal enough on our planet.
Yeah.
It's math prodigies come from all the races, or I don't know, races are not even a fucking thing. I don't know what to call. Anyway, you know what? I'm just wittering. Okay, we got a couple more Snapchats.
We got more donations. Yeah, we got a few.
For
Alfonso
fuck's
Fret
sake.
gave us $5. Isao Silva gave us $5 in R. I don't know what the R stands for. And writes, "Sup, faggots." And Fretchinator2 gave us $5 and writes, "Senpai noticed me with a waving girl." The emoticon. Yeah.
Retman dollars?
An
It nice to
R?
see that we've got a feminist comment there.
Where?
50% feminist. Well, because it's got the waving girl emoji.
Oh,
so,
yes, that's true.
by the logic of this paper, 50% women. I mean, maybe it's a feminist comment, according to this academic paper, maybe.
Well, if it's a female, it's got to be a feminist comment, because otherwise it's, that's not really a woman. That's a wolf in sheep's clothing that happens to have a vagina.
Okay, let's go a little bit further in.
Let us go a little bit further.
We
Situation
lose more and more the
is
will
part of
to
a
live.
consequence of bureaucratic procedure. Currently, the program committee of women's studies approves courses on a course-by-course basis in terms of accepting them as cross-listed courses. The initial petitioning faculty member demonstrates to the committee via a proposal of topics and readings that the course will fulfill the 50% feminist content rule. Once the course is initially approved by the program committee, it appears in the course calendar every year as a cross-listed offering, unless the host department requests its removal from cross-listed status. The course appears in the calendar regardless of any change in instructors from year to year. If the committee screened courses by individual instructors, this would preclude courses being cross-listed with women's studies that have no feminist content and a professor who is not trained or familiar with feminist theory. However, to put such a practice into effect requires a time commitment, given the number of non-permanent faculty members teaching cross-listed courses who would yearly require screening by the Women's Studies Program Committee.
Okay, so apparently they want an embargo on feminist content to only come from feminist-approved professors.
Of course.
Oh,
Of course.
we want to stop.
They got to be the gatekeepers. This is extremely painful. But
Yes, it is.
and
It is
only
doubly
11
so.
And you know what? Kudos to the codger, because he read the whole fucking thing, and I hope that he's okay, because I would have had an aneurysm.
I think he's excited.
I don't think I would have survived.
I think he's
This paper.
excited. He's excited that we're going to be going to Australia.
Yeah. What I'm
And then
saying
also
is, I think this
Anaheim,
paper is like an
maybe.
informational mind worm that burrows into your fucking brain and eats it from the inside. If you read the whole thing, it's like giving birth
Okay.
to some Cthulhu monster. We got $10 Australian from RKT. I'll just say wrecked. See you guys in Melbourne? Question mark. Melbourne.
No, you will be seeing us in Melbourne.
Melbourne.
It's now Anaheim. That's the question mark. So if you want to see us in Anaheim, or you want to help people in Anaheim see us,
Haminaman.
Anaheim, California. It's www.feedthebadger.com. Any bit helps at this moment.
Indeed.
Okay, let's continue.
Are we going to keep going? All right.
Well, I mean, they still have put some more time on the clock. Let's at least get it till the little
Sure.
Snapchat thingies run out.
Okay.
There you go. The sex is gone. Now we're just on the Australian buckaroos.
Okay, the
for it.
next section, explain and justify feminist content, question mark, and that's in italics. And why are the other ones in bold and this one's in, oh, bloody hell. The various faculty members interviewed have a range of responses to the questions of how they introduce material informed by feminism into their cross-listed courses, and whether or not, and if so how, they explain or justify their selection of such course material for their students. These cross-listed courses often have a very small number of students who are taking the course as a women's studies credit as opposed to a credit from the Home Social Sciences Department. In a typical course of 100 students, 5 of those students might be taking the course as a women's studies credit. Surprisingly, in my experience, teaching these cross-listed courses, many of the other students are unaware that the course is cross-listed with women's studies and is thus expected to be a feminist course. The university's course calendar is clear that the course is cross-listed with women's studies, and the course outlines also state the dual nature of these courses. There are also students in these courses who do know the course is cross-listed with women's studies and are taking it for that reason, even though they choose to have the course listed by its social science department's name on their university's transcripts. Most of the faculty interviewed do not overtly justify or explain to the students why there is content informed by feminisms in their courses. As Jordan states, I don't ever apologize for it. One faculty member, Ilana, evoking an evangelical metaphor, envisions herself as a missionary of feminism. She teaches a cross-listed course in social science department which rarely has students she would comfortably label as feminist. Ilana's view is that by incorporating feminist content into the class, she is, quote, perhaps doing the world good teaching this stuff to 65 students who would never otherwise engage with feminist writings, end quote. Ilana's approach is to use what she identifies as watered-down feminism in an attempt to meet her students where they are.
Okay, all right. Watered down feminism. Feminism is the dictionary definition, which is the equality between men and women, right? Well, how do you water that down? There's obviously a whole bunch of something else going on there.
You leave out all the intersectional crap.
And the patriarchy.
And the rape culture and the
maybe you're more
you're more like a equalist that can't call yourself an equalist because you don't want to lose your fucking job, so you say, oh, I'm a feminist. I'm just a watered down feminist. I still have a lot of learning to do. I still need to be educated, but
Please don't fire me.
Yeah, I'm like an acolyte of feminism. I'm not
remember,
a high priestess.
These women are talking about a captive audience of people below them on the hierarchy. Just put it out there. Just remember, that's what they're talking about.
But there's no hierarchy, or there shouldn't be.
Well,
that's a man thing to have a hierarchy. That's like Sparta.
These people are going into these courses because they have to. And I know a lot of them are probably not even social studies students. They're probably engineering, science, and they have to pick up one of those fucked up social studies course shit. And so they're just going in there. They're like, I'm here to get a job, and I have to take this course with these women. And they don't even know. It's just they just have this shit sprung on them. They don't have a choice. They're a captive audience. Not just that, but they have to now be exposed to feminist women, who are the most dangerous women on the campus. I mean, these are the type of women who will rape you and then charge you with rape. Oh man, that's great. And then they have to go in there and they have to pretend like these women do not have that power over them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like basically walking into the lion's den and saying, nope, the lions are they're oppressed, and they can't eat me at any moment. And oh no, I'm not actually sweating because I'm nervous. That would insult the lions. It's just sexist air conditioning. Okay, keep going.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Can anybody see? Can you?
Oh
see
yeah, the Snapchat is done. Okay,
We're going to stop. Have you noticed, I don't know if you guys are seeing this, the codger has a camel toe. I'm just saying, if you see it, now you cannot unsee.
What? What the fuck? Wait, just... Oh, yeah.
I'm just...
allow
me to draw your attention to the baldly shaved camel toe that the codger is displaying. We may actually get this may be demonetized because of this totally lewd content that we're showing off right now. So, guys, keep it in your pants. We're going to close the show out, but I will leave this sexy codger up.
Okay.
I want to give Teal Deer an opportunity to say anything that maybe he wanted to speak to that we didn't get to say in the video. So, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to this insanity.
Are you still alive?
I'm gonna go and, like, guzzle down a bottle of toilet duck or something.
Oh, but is that resistance? Like, are you resisting feminism?
Does that count as resistance?
Well, I mean, maybe the peristaltic
Just
action of removing
tapping
it
out
from-
of life, is that resisting things?
Well, you don't feel that it's the light in the way, so you must be resisting it.
Clearly.
Okay, all right. Okay, so everyone.
Even in death, my glorious... I am still loyal to the glory of the Emperor, even in death. As such, I am a patriarchal oppressor.
So everyone, if you want to join us in the after show, www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio, and we shall adjourn to there.
All right.
Post width and such.
Well, you can hit the button, Allison. I don't have to do it.
Oh, that's right. I hit the button at the
Hit-
beginning. That's why it was so fucked up.
Yeah, hit
okay.
the Kofefe.
Okay, Kofefe out. Oops. Why does it give you a secondary goddamn...